Hello, welcome back to everyone's favorite show about furries and ninjas. My name's Alsace, and today we're talking about KaiKetsu Lion Maru. Thank you so much to PopTunes on Instagram for recommending this in my DMs. If you have a show that you want us to watch here on my channel, please feel free to comment it down below. I always love to see it. Or if you really want to get to me, feel free to follow me on Twitter or Instagram and DM me over there. And that's not a shameless plug, because I genuinely feel bad for doing that. Anyways, KaiKetsu Lion Maru is a Japanese Tokusatsu, which I know sounds redundant, but I promise it's not, that roughly translates to Extraordinary Lion Knight, or Vigilant Lion Knight, or Swift Hero Lion Knight. I don't know which one's the actual one, they're all listed on Wikipedia. And the show aired from April 1st, 1972 until April 7th, 1973. And to put that into perspective for you, the show aired literally one entire year after the very first episode of Kamen Rider aired. The show is produced by P Productions, who aren't really known for much. They made a handful of toku and anime in the 60s and the 70s, the most notable of which probably being Spectraman. At least that's the one I recognized while glancing through their catalog. For the most part, Lion Maru seems to be their sort of flagship franchise, considering that's the show that's had like 3 iterations outside of the original series. These include Foon Lion Maru in 1973, as well as Lion Maru G, which apparently is short for Ghetto, in 2006. Which also, by the way, has a significantly cooler suit than that of the original Lion Maru. The OG one is like charming in that sort of Showa era sort of way, but Jisoo is slick as hell. Like, I really love it. It's really cool. The show takes place during Sengoku Japan, which means that this is gonna get incredibly Japanese. You may have thought this was only gonna be a little Japanese, but no, we're going all the way with this one. Fun fact, the show was actually dubbed in English in the 1980s. It was only the first episode, and it was released through VHS and sold exclusively through like toy store chains. So basically stuff like Toys R Us. I think it was mostly Toys R Us for the most part. And the translated title is actually Magic of the Ninja, which sounds pretty sick. So with all that out of the way, let's watch the first episode of Lion Maru and see if we can figure out what makes this show so special. Why does P Productions keep trying to bring this show back? Before we start, I need to point out the fact that I'm watching this on YouTube, and it's been up for about 3 months now, and only 20 people have seen it. I don't know if that's an indicator of quality by any means, but the people clearly seem to love it. The intro starts off with this Japanese flute and gives off this sort of Kurosawa meets Showa era Kamen Rider vibe, which is really sick, and I kind of enjoy it. I also just found out that this episode isn't actually subtitled, but I do have the YouTube auto-generated closed captioning on for this, so we'll just be referring to that throughout the episode. The show opens on the battlefield of Sengoku, Japan, which is also known as Vienna. This is gonna be great. I can already tell. While we see this stock footage, the narrator draws attention to people dying and losing their homes, as well as orphan children, and it cuts to 2 recently orphaned children, Sayori, whose Wikipedia describes her only as a woman, and as an alcoholic, and we also see Kosuke, the youngest of the show's main trio. And apparently they're super angry about holding eggs, but they're still happy because luckily they're able to travel through Japan with the world's greatest ninja. Not him. The 3 of them run into a village that's under attack by ninjas wearing skull masks. They meet up with this dude, and he takes them to this old guy, and they talk about some stuff. And for some reason, I don't know if you can tell this, but I feel like subtitles would really come in handy at this point. I'm guessing he's gonna grant them the mystical powers of Lion Maru. I have no clue yet, though. The guy with the mustache gets pissed off at the old dude, but the main hero intervenes and kills the mustache man before anything bad happens. And it turns out Mustache Man is also one of the skull-wearing ninja men. This next part I was able to piece together through the very, and I mean very, little Japanese I've learned through watching Tokusatsu from the past decade, which I really should. I should know more, considering how much I watch this. But I know nothing. I know none of it. But from what I can tell, there's this evil daimyo named Go-san, and he's like arisen from hell or escaped some sort of like seal or some shit. I'm not bullshitting you. I can't fucking tell. But he's like back, and he's ready to get into some shit. And I guess these guys are tweaking out because of it. Also, I guess they're planning on having bad weather, which is not cool at all. It then cuts to a cult of cloaked individuals praising what I assume to be Daimao Gosan, and from what I can tell here at this part, this is rough. He's back due to like a failed assassination from a couple hundred years ago, which is why he's back now. And also, his fingers fucking love his feet, dude. This whole closed captioning thing is both a blessing and a curse. It cuts back to the main trio and the old man sitting around the fire, as the old man gifts them with a katana, which I assume is like an ancient relic passed down from the generations that contains the power of Lion Maru. Kosuke brings up a good point in how they can't unsheath it because it's like locked with a chain, and the old man gives the woman a small sword that is nowhere near as cool as Lion Maru's, and the kid's like, yo, where's my shit at, dog? And the old man spouts off some nonsense about souls or something, which I imagine isn't actually that far off from the actual translation, to be honest with you. And he hands him like a flute or something, which apparently can summon this Pegasus thing, which makes this the second coolest thing besides the Lion Maru sword. The least coolest thing being the wooden spoon that they gave the only woman in the show to have. After that, they're attacked by a group of skull ninjas and a monster, and the orphan trio tries to fight off the threat, while the old man just sits in the house and decides that it's time to die. That's it. He's just cool with it for whatever reason. The house burns down with him inside, and after a commercial break, Lion Maru starts talking about his favorite pair of shorts as they hold services for the old man. They then run into the monster from last night and have a neat little fight scene where even the kid gets a second to show off some like sword fighting and stuff. The main character falls down a cliff and Kosuke rides a tree branch to go help him, and it seems as though Lion Maru has died before he can even transform. But then Kosuke decides that now's the time to play the flute, which seems to summon the Pegasus I was talking about earlier, which then revives Lion Maru. Meanwhile, Sayori's in the middle of like being crucified by the bad guys or whatever, and it's cool because they show up in time to save her. And after doing some ninja magic, Homeboy is able to transform into Lion Maru, allowing him to defeat the bad guys and save the day. I feel like there's been no tension in this entire episode, and I feel like that's because I don't understand the language to build any sort of stakes. Overall though, I really did like this show. It would have been a lot better if I could understand it, but it looked cool nonetheless. And I know I mentioned earlier that there was an English dub in the 80s, but I can't watch it because much like Ultraman Tiga and I think Thunder Mask, it just doesn't exist anymore. But there is a small 2-minute compilation of some clips from the first episode that I was able to find on the internet, so I guess we could watch that together. The first clip includes the henshin sequence.
O winds, light, give me strength. The art of shape-shifting. I am Lion Maru!
Which sounds a lot cooler now that I know what he's saying. The next part includes some of the worst dubbing I've probably ever had to experience.
Yeah, Kosuke! You little imp! I got you.
Like, the noises that these two make just make me really uncomfortable, and I really don't like it. The next one includes the part where they have like the Pegasus fly in.
Of course!
Wow, it flies!
And I mean, of course that thing fucking flies. You think the wings are just there for aesthetics? You watch this thing fly in from the sun earlier and you're surprised all of a sudden? This last clip is from the ending part of the show.
Kosuke, you study hard and you will be just like Shishimaru. Okay, can I play with your sword? The art of lion change. Now I will learn it.
Which is actually kind of sweet now that I understand what they're saying. Overall, I feel like this would have been a really enjoyable watch if I understood what was happening. I don't know if I made that clear throughout the entire video, but for now, I'm kind of cool with the YouTube auto-generated subtitles. It just adds a sort of charm to it, you know? Once again, thank you to PopTunes for recommending this one on my Instagram, and again, feel free to comment it down below. You don't have to go to my Instagram or my Twitter if you don't want to. Feel free to comment it down below, and I'll be sure to take a look and take all your comments into consideration. But past that, hopefully I see you next week. Bye-bye!